Hey, alright, so one of my other videos I actually installed the fuel pump for this and I explained how it worked. Unfortunately, Chinese products have become even more cheaper, so it seems. The brand new fuel pump I just installed actually failed. I actually took it apart and found that the check valve that was deep inside of the guts is bad. And you can't say I didn't put a fuel filter in, because there it is. On this particular mower, this is actually the modern design. The fuel tank is actually under the seat and the battery goes up on top. For this guy, we are actually going to modify something. We're going to use a principle that is part of everyday around us. So there is this law called Pascal's law, and he has several of them, but one specifically is that there is, with fluid, it's at any given point in a system, it's going to have equal pressure. And so this is an antique system to where I'm going to put this fuel tank right on the hood of that guy. And I do have a welder where I could actually weld a bracket up on top. That way it could give me even more pressure, but all it really has to be done is the nipple has to be above the needle on this float valve. That way, there'll always be pressure coming to the bowl. That's the only thing that matters. This system that I'm reverting back to is known as gravity fed. Since the fuel pump went out within like total 10 minutes of the engine running, this is where it's left me. So you're probably wondering, why in the world did I mount it right there? Well, to cover this up would have made it really awkward, considering the gas can would have stuck up like this. I didn't want to necessarily mount it on the front, because if I get in a tight spot, it's more likely that it'll get ripped off. And mind you, I had to keep it up high enough to where Pascal's law would be in effect, so my gasoline would at least, my empty line is about right here is where I'm going to start running on fumes. And if you look closely enough, that little guy right there is a little breather hole. As the gasoline is consumed by the engine, air is actually brought in through here just naturally. So if I have to maintenance this, all I do is I'll make my fuel line longer, and I'll figure that out here in a minute. And so when I pull this up like that, my highest point is in fact right there. This way, no gasoline never goes out of here while the hood is up. Now this hood isn't really made to handle this weight, but it'll be fine for what I'm doing. So here we are once again. I have bought this online, and it worked great for about 10 minutes. Worked fine. I tested it before I ever put it on, and something went wrong in here, so that's where I'm at. Took apart this guy right there, checked the diaphragm. It's still moving, which tells me it's the check valve. Air's going back and forth, back and forth. This guy creates pressure. Goes off of probably a cam lobe. Made sure the cam lobe was still working. Obviously the engine still runs if I hand feed it. So I'm going to redesign the system to more of a conventional way versus this. And what we'll do is we still need to plug that hole. So instead of fabricating a piece of metal, it would just be just as easy to stick this back in. I'm going to see if I can remove this arm and just put the screws for this back in place and walk away from this. That way it's not even riding on the lobe, it's just sealing it off. Here we are, chopped off the arm, ripped it out. This will be great just to plug that hole nice and easy. That way I don't have to waste any time and material plugging this existing hole. This is a grommet assortment kit. I suggest that you get one of these. They are very handy. So what if the only fuel that you have is in the old gas tank? I'm going to make something pretty cool. It's going to really help. So here we are. This is a homemade siphon. You can literally hear it, the vacuum that I've created by pinching the sidewalls of this. See how it's sucking in the gas. Yay. Pretty much disposable. I wouldn't suggest keeping it, but if you're, living in a pandemic right now and every dollar counts, I wouldn't be spending money that you don't have to. Voila! We have almost a gallon of gas just simply siphoned right out of this this tank. Alright, kind of see how I used a grommet to go through the sidewall of that. Highly suggest that. That way you do not cut your line. Watch as I pull up the hood, and you can see how my little design works. Or you could just take the original, side of the line and angle it down. I need wire ties. Global pandemic. I need wire ties. Found some oversized ones. They'll do. Use what you have and never be stingy when that's all you have. Alright, with my modification here, you'll notice how I use my oversized wire tie, but it's not crushing the fuel line, but it's holding it still enough that it does move back and forth. The line I put it on is crankcase ventilation, and I did not crush him either. Like I said, just enough to where it doesn't move back and forth. Gotta keep him away from that exhaust. Bad day. Wouldn't want to be on this mower when this thing says, oh my god, fuel leak on the exhaust, oh my god. Alright, watch and function. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's turn it over and see what it does. For me, this guy here, I just heat shrinked him red. I was getting like 25 volts AC, so that tells me he's playing with the stator one way or another, and this guy was ground for my mower. So all I know is when I touch these two together, it made the whole engine stop, and yeah, so that's that. Let's watch her start. Now, do mind you, by doing this, you're bypassing the safety. There's another seat switch that is also bypassed. Check it out. I hope this video was some help. If you enjoyed it and it was some help to you, just like and subscribe, and I will continue making more videos.